Hello, everybody.
Hi, Greg. Good evening.
I'm
Good evening,
glad you
sir.
have
Good
joined
evening.
us on this very cold day.
Yes,
Right on.
very cold.
Yeah. The funny thing is, I was just up in like around Albany, and we got like 6 inches and drove to the airport, and everything was fine. But I get it. We are not prepared. I went to college in Maine, so I
Yeah.
understand.
I grew up in northeastern Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Yeah. But they have like it was the thing that was funny to me was all of the guys driving around their pickup trucks with the plows on the front. Like that's the difference, you
That's a
know?
norm.
That's the norm, right? Everybody's got a guy, right? So,
Right, right, right.
um, and I don't care what you say, black ice, nobody drives on that. So,
No, no. Mm-mm.
yeah.
Nope.
And as we like to say here in the lacrosse world, safety never takes a holiday, my friends. So stay off the roads tomorrow because it's gonna be ugly.
Amen. Yes, sir.
It is gonna be ugly.
I get paid to stay home.
Exactly. Uh, although I am a teacher and I've just missed 2 days now, and
Oh,
so
no.
I'm gonna have to scramble to figure out how to get all this stuff in, but we'll figure it out. We'll muddle through. Um, all right. Okay, I'm recording this call, so we're good there. Um, uh, we'll let people sort of come in. First thing I need to let everybody know, please make sure that you have registered with GHSA through Dragonfly. I just sent an email out to the people that I have on my list who have not done so. So make sure that happens because that needs to get approved by GHSA. And then you need to go in and set up your account with learn.ghsa.net to view the clinic. That's going to be yours truly giving you the rules update for the year, but you have to watch that. Um, and then you'll take your GHSA test, which is the NFHS test, through Dragonfly. So you got to get this process rolling. The clinic just opened up. It's going from the 20th until February 10th. Do it early. It should only take you like 35 minutes. Um, and it's one of those where you got to answer 3 questions. The other one that you need to do will start on the 27th and run through the 10th. Do not wait until the last minute.
On,
Okay. You
on
got
a
to take the test if you're going to officiate high school games. Okay. You do not need to pass. Um, and I expect a lot of you who are new to lacrosse will struggle a little bit, and that's fine, right? The idea is to get in the rule book and to start figuring it out. Um, and so that's how you get better. You're going to screw up, bless you. You're going to screw up. You've got to get in there and get in the rule book. That is the most important thing. So, yeah, so make sure you take care of that. Anybody have any questions on technical fouls? Right? So biggest thing we need to remember is technical fouls are just fairness. It's never going to be safety, okay? It's always going to be fairness, right? Was somebody disadvantaged or did they gain an unfair advantage, right? So pushing, holding, stepping on a line, playing without the cross, all that kind of stuff. And the biggest thing you need to pay attention to is did somebody get advantaged or disadvantaged? Okay. Um, so you can have holds, right? Loose ball hold within 5 yards of the ball. You can hold the player's stick or hold the player's body from the front or the side, right? That's fine. Same thing with pushing. You can push from the front or from the side. So there are times when you can legally do things, and then there are times when you can't legally do things. But the thing we're going to talk about tonight is sort of differentiating between the two of those, right? How do you make the determination? Is this a safety foul or is this an advantage disadvantage foul? And I'll give you some examples. Um, all right, moving. Actually, question. Did anybody have problems? Did some of the videos not play
Mine
during
didn't.
the technical
couple of
fouls
them did not.
presentation?
Yeah, I would say about half of them didn't play, Greg.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't see any of them.
Somebody emailed me this afternoon and said, like from Pittsburgh, and said these aren't working. So I'm going to go in and try to, I'm off tomorrow. So now I have all sorts of free time. So I'm going to try to re-record that. But we're going to see a lot of similar videos on what we're talking about tonight.
Your voiceover ran, but the
Yeah,
image on screen
that's the
didn't
part
Right.
change.
that's so bizarre. Like I don't
Yeah.
understand how that happened. So, because when I played it back on my computer, it was fine, and then I uploaded it. So we'll figure out what's going on there.
Your
That's a tomorrow.
play-by-play pictured it perfectly. So
Yeah, I mean, that's a tomorrow problem right now. Okay, so let me share my screen. I'm gonna share this guy right here, and we are gonna watch this presentation. Oh, wait, I gotta do the thing. Gotta do the thing. Let us slideshow. Don't use timings, don't play narration. Okay. All righty. Um, so we are talking about what foul to call. How is it that you as an official make the judgment and the determination as to, what do we have here kind of deal? Now, I will say this image right here, this is a personal foul, right? Um, and again, these are the fouls that leap off the page. If it makes you go ooh, you probably want to throw a flag, okay? And there are a number of other factors that are going to go into this that we will get into. So this is where you are all going to start, right? And I don't care if you have officiated big time football or big time basketball. I don't care if you've played lacrosse or even big time lacrosse. The processing that has to happen for you to see the foul, recognize the foul, know the mechanics of what to do, and then how to refer or relay that information to your partner or the coaches or the players. If you have not done that before, it is really hard. Okay. So even if you've got a lot of experience and you're great at reading a rule book, it will take you time to like get that muscle in your brain working, get you up to speed. Okay. Um, what I worry about and what I have seen happen is you then become the official, usually in at the end of your first year or your second year, where you have figured out what these fouls are. And so to prove to the world that you are the greatest official on the planet, you're going to want to throw your flag every 16 seconds. Okay. And that's kind of not what we want either. Like, I want you to be able to recognize fouls, but I need you to be able to discern, is this a no call or a call? Is this a technical foul or a personal foul? What is going on in my game? What do I know about uh, what other people have been calling, what the rules memos say, all the training. I want to get you to the point where you are a sort of real person, right? And that we can make these determinations. So hopefully this will speed up that process, okay? Because a lot of times we just talk about like, if you see this, do this. And I want you to understand that it's if you see this, you have multiple options of what you are able to do. So don't be Oprah. We are not handing out fouls left and right and everybody gets a foul, okay? No one came to the game to see you throw your flag. Nobody came to the game to see you, big time the coaches and tell the parents they're a bunch of idiots, right? That's not professional. It's not what we want. We want to be able to manage the game and have a nice flow to the game. We want to let the players decide. One of the phrases I've heard for God 26 years is um, uh, we're not going to do anything until the players indicate to us that we need to step in. Right? We react to the game. We don't control. People are like, you need to control the game. I can't control a game. I can manage a game and I can react to what is happening and I can anticipate what's going to happen, but I can't stop people from hitting other people in the head. I can't stop people from dropping F-bombs. So, learning how to manage is really helpful. Learning when you need to insert yourself into a game is really what officiating is all about. That's what separates the great ones from those of us who are just kind of muddling through. So, safety, advantage, disadvantage, obvious. SAO. I ruthlessly stole this from a guy out in San Diego, John Bistowski. He gave a talk at USA Lacrosse, and I was like, this is utter and absolute genius. Um, you're never going to pass on a personal foul, ever. If you think somebody's safety is an issue, if it meets the definition and it's big enough that you're like, I got to step in here, we're not going to pass on a slash. We're not going to pass on an illegal body check. With a technical foul, um, the question is advantage, disadvantage. You can have something that would technically meet the definition of, yes, that was a push, yes, that was a hold. But the other team kept possession and kept doing what they wanted to do. So you have the option to pass on technical fouls. And we'll talk about sort of how you do that. And then there's the one that are just the obvious ones, right? It's really hard to justify passing on a call where everybody just saw what happened, right? And I'll show you a couple of examples of that, right? My favorite is the kid who runs on the field, realizes he's the 11th guy, looks around, counts, and then runs off the field. You can't be like, I didn't see that guy. Like everybody in the stadium saw that guy. Everybody on both teams saw that guy, right? The big hit, you can't pass on the big hit. You can't pass on the big moments where everybody's focused, right? So this is clearly safety, right? This is clearly, we're going to have a cross check and a legal body check. Like this is a big boom foul. We should be thinking this meets the definition of a safety, right? But you've got this advantage, disadvantage, right? In the slide on the left, red is not getting this ball, right? You have contact from behind. The ball's loose. You're going to kill this play and you're going to award the ball to red because he was disadvantaged. He's shoved to the ground. He can't pick it up. Now on the right, let's say white had illegal contact on blue and it's not safety. It's just advantage, disadvantage. It's potentially a push, but clearly blue is about to pick this ball up. I'm not going to stop the game to tell white that he's a bad person and that we now need to give the ball to blue. Let the defense set up, like, I know he's going to get it. So I'm going to do what we call a play on. I'm going to put my hand up in the air and say, hold on. I see this foul. Oh, wait, you got it. Blue ball. Okay. And we'll talk about that in a second. We'll talk about how to do play ons. That's our next presentation. Here is an example, right? A clearly obvious. So if you look on the left side of your screen, you see number 42 has stepped across the midfield line, right? He's on his defensive side of the line. And I see a lot of officials who struggle with offsides early on. And so this is my tip that I'm going to give you. When you see folks are offsides, what you want to do is you want to count forwards. So we see him. I don't know if he's offsides. All I know is he's clearly on this side and he doesn't think he should be there. And so I'm going to go and we're going to count. And I'm starting with him. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We are offsides. White is in possession of the ball. This is obvious, right? You can't argue that this doesn't impact the play, okay? Because we're not talking about safety. We're talking about he is on the wrong side of the field and he's the extra guy. So here we're going to have a flag, okay? And it is okay to be a little late on this flag because you have to count, right? That's important. You want to make sure you get it right. I will tell you that 40% of the time I count him as number one and it's only 6 guys. He just doesn't think he should be the guy. And so he subs off and then they sub another guy on, right? That's legal. So the obvious ones you want to make sure you get. So this image right here is actually in a chart that is on your training plan document. And what I've done is I've basically grouped fouls into what I think are body checking fouls, stick checking fouls, line calls, interference fouls, equipment fouls, and behavior fouls, right? And if it's in white, those are the technicals. I'm not that worried about it. And then you escalate up to the personal fouls. Okay. So you can have a hold with a stick check. You can have a slash, a trip, a cross check, an unnecessary roughness, all the way up to an ejection. Same thing with body checking fouls. Is it a push or is it an illegal body check? We have to make that determination. And so what you end up with is the foul spectrum, right? And so you could start with a loose ball push. You could always argue, hey, I'm not sure that that player was in possession of the ball, carrying, cradling, passing, shooting. So I'm just going to blow my whistle and say, ball's loose, push, and award possession. I'm not putting anybody in the box. I'm saying you were disadvantaged. I'm going to give you the ball. We're going to have a restart, and we're going to play lacrosse. Now, I could do push with possession. In my opinion, do I want to maybe escalate that foul? Right? That was a little too hard of a push for me. Things are getting a little crazy. And now maybe instead of 50-50, I'm going loose ball or possession, I will lean towards possession. If it's something that I need to be worried about with safety, I'm no longer talking about advantage, disadvantage. I could go a legal body check. I could go unnecessary roughness and lock this penalty in, right? Make it full time. Or I can go all the way to ejection, right? And so what you end up with is the first thing you need to do as an official when you see a play is determine, where am I at? Am I in the advantage, disadvantage? Am I in the personal foul safety issue? Is this obvious? Did everybody see this? Is this a call that I really can't pass on, right? So I say that to say this. Probably the best thing that you can be as an official is don't be that good. Don't be so technical that you're just calling stuff to call stuff. If you are going to make a call, does it help you manage the game? Does it keep the game flowing? Right? And this is hard because at every level that you officiate, you have to reacclimate yourself to this kind of stuff. Right? What are we going to let go in a Division I lacrosse game is very different than what I'm going to let go in a U9 game or in a low-level JV game. I may let a lot go in a very competitive, quarterfinal game, high school playoffs between two really talented teams. So there's a lot of stuff going on. The image here is, so I ref a lot of games at Georgia Tech. They've got 700,000 lines, and inevitably you'll be coming up as the trail, and you see the attackman and the defenseman are both standing off sides because they think they're standing in front of the midline, but actually they're 5 yards over the midline. It's not a safety issue. No one is advantaged. No one is disadvantaged. It's not where play is happening, so none of the fans are looking at it. Just tell them to step back, right? It doesn't affect the play. Nobody sees this. Just have them step back, right? That's a classic example of I could stop the game and I could say we have offsetting technical fouls. Whoever has possession will retain possession. If we don't have possession, we're going to go alternate. But I don't want to go AP because two guys 50 yards away from the play are standing next to each other talking about their season, right? Um, things can look really crazy. And I love this image because it's really hard to tell kind of what's happening here, right? Who do we think
White's
is
holding
committing the
black.
foul here?
White.
Yeah, White's committing the foul. But what are you conditioned to look as a fan? You're
The black.
conditioned to look at the defense, right? Um, and number 13, Black here, is actually holding his own player's stick. So, this is I think one of these brilliant
White
images.
hold.
He's holding or it's a
Mhm.
ward, right? Clearly it's
Well,
holding or it's a ward, right? You can't just watch the defense. Um, but still images don't tell really the full story. And actually, even clips don't tell the full story, right? So everyone is perfect in high def and slow motion. Any numbskull can sit there in front of their 80-inch TV showing a clip pixel by pixel, frame by frame, to be like, how did you miss the contact to the head? Or this was a slash, or this, that, and the other. Um, you have to see this in real time and simply make a decision. We don't have access to look at video while we're doing a game. And there are video clips that I get sent where I look at it 3, 4, 5 times and I still can't figure out what was going on. Right. And so you have to trust the judgment of the official. Um, the other factors that are going to go into this are temperature of the game. Is it heated? Is it a playoff game? Is it two skilled teams? Like all of these things really factor into what's going on. So let's watch this clip. So I'll play that again. Now, in this clip, I am not worried about safety, right? To me, that's not a big hit at this level of play. Now, if we were talking about a youth game, that's clearly a takeout check, and you're not allowed to do that. So that's going to be a 1-minute personal foul. But here, at best, I have a push. But if we remember, one of the exceptions to a push is turning at the last second. What would have been a legal check right here from the side or the front becomes an illegal check because the white player turns.
okay.
So I have the option of calling this or not calling this.
Mhm.
To me, it is it's a push with possession or it's a no call. Okay. It's obvious we have big contact and he goes to the ground. So you better be prepared to justify your foul or your no call. Okay. And one of the things that we'll talk about sort of at the end of this presentation is you have better been cataloging all of the fouls that you've been watching throughout the game. Not just that you're calling, but that your partner is calling. Because if we've got a lot of what we like to call 50-50s, could have gone either way, there becomes a moment in the game where suddenly you're like, all right, 50-50 pushes or no calls, because that's what my partners have been calling. And so if I'm not 100% sure that this was an illegal act that disadvantaged somebody, I'm just going to let it go. Right? If you've let light contact or even some serious contact go, like hard checks, then we're going to let those go. Right? It's got to be something above that in order to make you make that call. So, this one is clearly, it's not safety, but there is disadvantage, and it is pretty obvious. So here is one. Um, I do love that goal. Um, So let's look at the initial contact again, right? Now, is this enough for me to call head-to-head contact?
No.
I don't know. It depends on the level of the game. It depends upon
Yeah.
the age group these players are in. If this is high school, you're gonna see players make head-to-head contact when they run into each other, particularly around the crease, particularly dodging. It's not automatically going to be a foul. Um, to me, this is an award. He has two hands on his stick, and he's not pushing away, right? He kind of catches this kid a little flat-footed, and then on one foot, he gets some leverage and he goes.
Good bull dodge.
So to me, depending upon what we've called in the game, this could be illegal helmet contact. This could be illegal play. Right? We got to know what else we've called. You cannot call things in isolation. That's the biggest thing. And you've got to really understand those exceptions to the rules when you're sort of making these calls. Here's a good one. Yeah, good times right here. So here we go. The goalie makes a save. I think we have a whistle killing play, and then this guy picks it up and hammers it into the goal. So we've got a clearly an unsportsmanlike on 22 for shooting after the whistle has blown. And now do not turn your back because suddenly everybody takes umbrage because you were mean to their goalie. And so now you've got to separate all this out. This is clearly obvious, right? Shooting after the whistle and then the guy retaliating. So you've got two dead ball fouls here. And we're dealing with safety and sportsmanship. So this is not advantage, disadvantage. We're in the multi-minute kind of penalty deal here. Um, all right, so you got a hard check to the player's stick and he goes down, but it's a legal check. Then you got big on little and another big on little. And then a really terrible shot from 100 yards away because he got tired. So right there's a good check, and the player essentially trips over his own cross. Right? I got nothing there. Now, it looks like a trip, and absolutely everybody on the sidelines will probably be yelling, "That's a trip, that's a trip." Um, but he picks that ball up, and right in here. Again, the kid's kind of sideways. He doesn't have great positioning. He weighs at less than half of what this kid weighs and falls to the ground. I don't have a personal foul here. Now, here we get a little like this could be helmet to helmet contact right there. I could call spearing on 23. Right? I got nothing there. He just sort of runs by him. So, again, you've got to know what else is happening in the game. The only thing that jumps out at me here is that helmet to helmet contact. Um, Clearly a push, right? It is obvious to everybody. We do not have possession. Contact is from behind. He goes down to the ground and into this kid's knee. Um, right? So this is obvious. This is clearly advantage, disadvantage. And because of the way he lands, it could potentially be safety. This may be a moment that you want to escalate your penalties and say, you know, we've been calling these pushes, but this kind of behavior keeps happening. Maybe we go unnecessary roughness. Maybe we go illegal body check, right? Um, but these are all options here. You definitely have to have a push. This can't be a no call. The question is, do we want to escalate to something else? This isn't an ejection foul. I don't even think this is a multi-minute. If we did a personal foul, this might be a 1 minute illegal body check.
Greg, is that a play on situation there in your mind, or again, is it
Well,
dependent on
it's
how the
not
referee
really a
deems
play
it?
on because and we'll talk about the play on in a sec, but the play on is really designed for White to be able to pick the ball up and go score.
Right.
And he's not picking the ball up to go score. Like, there's no way he's getting the ball. So you immediately want to kill this.
Okay.
Because you know, red is about to pick it up, and you just don't want them taking a shot or doing anything
Sure.
crazy. You want to kill this play and adjudicate the foul. Um, all right. Here, right, White's coming up.
Ooh.
Now, he's clearly disadvantaged, but where's the contact? That's right from the side. Right? So that is a legal body check out of bounds that is correctly adjudicated as this is going to be red ball or black ball, whatever the team color here is. The only thing I would like to see, and you can see the new lead official starting to head down towards goal. The only thing I'd really like to see is we really do need to have somebody come up because this player should be moved in 5 yards because you are starting a restart right in the substitution area. Okay, we don't want to restart with all these guys right around. It's an older clip. But it's a good teaching moment. You're never going to have a quick restart in that substitution area.
Hey, Greg, we move them 5 yards either way,
5 yards
parallel.
into the field.
Oh,
Now,
into the field. Okay.
yeah, so not oh, you're going to move them towards the wing line, towards
Okay.
where it says 50.
Okay.
And so
Okay.
I like to come up and stand right where I want them to be and say, hey, I need you right here. Okay.
Okay.
And then make sure there's no offensive players within 5 yards. And you really do want to make sure there's no defensive players within 5 yards, right? It's one of the few times where I'm like, everybody back away. Okay.
Okay.
Because you don't want somebody subbing through the sub box and hammering this kid. That's
Right.
really what we're worried about at that point. And coaches will be yelling, blow the whistle. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready. It is never going to be a quick restart. Okay.
So the box restart is a safety issue.
The box restart is a safety issue. The
Okay.
box restart is a safety issue. All right, so here we go. Let's look at this one. Okay, we got mom involved here. We got mom. Mom is very upset. So kind of a big on little, right? I mean, green's not small, but white's bigger. And I think he kind of pushes him with the hand. I don't quite know if this is a cross check, but you could easily call it one. He's clearly disadvantaged, right? Now, you can legally be disadvantaged. Just being disadvantaged in and of itself doesn't make it a foul. So the question is, do you think this contact is legal? And then this is legal contact within 5 yards of a loose ball from the side. All of this stuff. Now that's a little high, right? And then we get these other guys involved. Now it looks terrible. This is exactly what I mean by obvious. We probably need to have something here, okay? Because this is a fight, brewing. We definitely need to have something on the parent that has come out onto the field, okay? Now that may be if that is a person associated with the team, that can be a 1 minute releasable unsportsmanlike conduct foul. Depending upon what she does to the other player, like all sorts of stuff. But we got to stop this. We got to kill it. We got to have something here. This is obvious. And I think it could be no calls, but I am knowing what I know, this kind of looks like a rec game. I don't necessarily know if I'm going to allow that level of violence in just a rec league game. Um, uh, and we potentially had the possibility of calling a cross check earlier. Again, have we called lots of cross checks in the game? Is this a player who has been a problem? Have we warned them? Have we had other fouls on them? All of those things are going to factor into it. This is potentially safety, clearly obvious.
Given that play, Greg, at what point do you blow a whistle? Because if you do call cross check early on, it's just flag down, slow whistle.
Yeah. So if we go back, right?
I mean,
So right here, he's in possession. And so if you're going to call that a cross check, you got to flag down, slow whistle right there.
yep.
Right. And then potentially right there, that's a cross check to the head and neck. And now you've got a foul by A.
Yeah. So now it's a simultaneous foul.
So now you've got simultaneous fouls. And if you go a 1 minute cross check on the big guy and a 1 minute, indirect contact to the head on 51, because both of those fouls start on the same tick of the clock, they're both going to lock in.
Yep.
So we're going to be 5-on-5 for 1 minute, and those guys are going to serve full time. Okay. And then you're definitely going to kill it when mom gets on the field. Right. So here comes mom, and now we have to kill the play.
Now, this is a little bit separate, Greg, but if, say, 51 got a 30-second technical and there you got a cross check, it's simultaneous, locked in for 30 seconds, right?
So any shared penalty, so even if they're not simultaneous fouls, so if you have a foul on, let's say you have a slash on B1, and you blow the whistle to kill the play because it's a loose ball slash, and then A retaliates, right? So he, slashes the guy who slashed him, right? Those aren't simultaneous because you have a live ball and a dead ball foul. But because, again, they start on the same tick of the clock, any shared penalty time between anybody who is going to be in the box at the same time, opposing teams, any shared penalty time is non-releasable.
Got it. Thank you.
The weird one is always, and I will share with you guys, we do have a presentation on simultaneous fouls. You get a play on for a loose ball push, and the kid who gets pushed turns around and cross-checks somebody. Now you're going to put a kid in for 30 seconds for a loose ball push, and you're going to have a kid in for a minute for slashing. The first 30 seconds are going to be locked in. And you have to explain to a coach that you have a non-releasable 30-second foul for a loose ball push, and he's going to want to know how much cough syrup you drank in the parking lot. So, these are the weird situations that, getting in the rule book and really reading through Rule 7 and learning about simultaneous fouls and all this stuff, it takes time and experience, and you have to have dealt with it a couple of times to really understand what's happening. All right, here's another example. So again, what do we got here? Watch the green, number 3. So now the ball is right around 5 yards away. And it's not terrible contact, right? Again, this could easily be a loose ball push. Or you could call interference, play on, because
Mhm.
number two catches the ball. They maintain their advantage, right? And continue their scoring play. If number two had dropped that pass, you could have killed the play and awarded it to green. You'd have to pull him outside the attack box, but you could be, hey, that's interference. We're going green. Um, or if you feel that this contact, maybe you've seen this a couple of times in a game and you've warned guys, hey, you can't hit him if if the ball's more than 5 yards away. So maybe you've thrown a flag on this, which means now you got to throw a flag on this play. So now you have a flag down with a scoring play in progress, right? And what's going to happen? White's going to slide up. He's going to dump it off to four. I think they do score on this play. I just cut it off here. But it's obvious. Everybody sees that hit in the middle of the field. The question you have to ask yourself is, in this game, was that a safety issue or was that an advantage disadvantage issue? Right? And again,
Okay.
what I like about a lot of these clips is they're mostly 50-50 calls. I need more information than just seeing what the clip is to adjudicate the foul, right? Um,
So, Greg,
yeah.
okay, let's say number two didn't catch the ball, but number four got the ground ball. Would that still be a play on because they
So yeah, we'll get
maintained?
to play-ons in a sec. The thing about play-ons is you never want them to go more than 3 or 4 seconds
Okay.
because a play-on means you have a foul, and if you have a retaliation by the offense, you're going to end up in that weird simultaneous foul situation that I just explained,
Okay.
where
Okay.
everybody thinks you're a crazy person. So, um, uh, yeah, I mean, I've literally gone to coaches and they're like, I've never heard of that.
Okay.
I can't help you on that, but it is a thing. Um, and it happens now. Like, if you watch the college game, it happens a lot in college games because of the stuff around the crease and the goal mouth and goalie interference and late hits. So you get a lot of things happening at once simultaneously, and you need to make sure that you adjudicate those appropriately. Um, so it's actually in the college game, it's become fairly common to have to adjudicate those fouls.
Mm,
But in the high school game, you want to stay away from play-ons. I mean, again, is he going to pick up the ball and maintain his advantage? If not, kill it. That's the
okay.
that's the key thing.
Okay.
All right, here's a no, that's the same one. All right, so here we go. This is another example, right? So this is your classic bang bang. So White is driving to the goal, beats his man, gets inside position, takes the shot. It is clearly from behind, right? Um, and the ball's already been released, right? So you can see the net move right there. Um, to me, this is a foul, right?
Mhm.
Location, location, location. Um, that bang bang play in the middle of the field that we just saw. I think you have to adjudicate that a little bit differently when we're on a scoring play, right? Um, but this is also clearly from behind. It's obvious everybody in the stadium is watching this. And, the question you have to ask yourself, has this hit been called a safety foul, an illegal body check? I kind of think it is. I'm sort of leaning towards legal body check here. Um, I think this is a little more than just a push from behind, right? All right, here's a fun one. This is clearly obvious, right? Yep, and here they all come, right? So we'll talk about fight mechanics later on. Uh, in this case, we are clearly ejecting a large number of people, right? And so one of the things you want to do when you get a fight or a situation like this is, this is not advantage, disadvantage. We have already escalated up to sportsmanship and safety, and it's obvious, right? So what you really want to do is start jotting down numbers of players you're going to eject. So if we go back and look at it, the initial guy is this red dude, number 18, and then this white kid's getting ejected. Number 12 throws a punch, so he's getting ejected. 11 throws a punch, so he's getting ejected. And then whoever this guy who comes flying in, you know, so a lot of punches being thrown, a lot of ejections being handed out. This is one of those moments in a game where you want to stop play, you want to slow everything down, you want to take the air out of the room and really kind of reassess where you are.
Greg, at what point in the game are you at a position where you might decide game's over after that kind of melee?
To some extent, I think it depends on the game that you're doing. If it is a rec game, at that point, I think we're done, right? But the other thing is sometimes you just got usual suspects. There's 2 or 3 guys on each team, and they're your problem. So if you get rid of your problem by ejecting them or disqualifying them, can you continue with the game? If you do continue the game, your level of what you are going to allow becomes much harder, right? You are going to call a much more tighter game after something like that. And I've been in games like that where you just have to muddle through because it's a regional game. It goes towards standings and whether you get into the playoffs and all that kind of stuff. But if we're at a Sunday rec game, I may very well be done. You know what I mean? I'm going to bring both coaches together and be like, we're done. I want you to watch this, and you're sort of going to watch kind of the right side of your screen a little bit. So 3's going to take it around. He passes it to his buddy, and the ball gets lost. And our official has his hand up in the air, and he's calling a play on. But let's watch the contact. So here comes white. That is contact from the front. Does not lead with the head. That's just man ball, right? This is a legal play. And you can't be the official who comes in and says, well, I was worried about their safety. You can't have a play on for a safety foul. You can only have a play on for a technical foul. So if you're worried about safety, you got to throw a flag. And I don't think this is quite enough for us to call a safety foul. This looks like a good push from the front within 5 yards of a loose ball. Right? But again, it's obvious. People see him go down. That does not mean you automatically have to call it. Okay. All right, so this is the classic goalie scoring video. So here comes our keeper. The goalie is allowed to bring it up. You see the midfielder come back to make sure he's on sides, and you get the score and the hit. So to me, I think this is pretty close to being legal contact. Looks like it's from the side right there. You could go with an illegal body check depending upon the game that you've got. But, if you called this an illegal body check earlier in the game, you got to call it an illegal body check. If you called this a legal hit and you had one like it on the other side of the field with the other team, you probably want to let this one go. This is a bang, bang play, right? Those are really hard to officiate. It's obvious. Everybody knows there was contact. The question is, what else have you seen in the game? What have you allowed? So here we go. Now there's contact there, right? I got nothing, right? Look at this. That's not enough to have a foul for me, right? I mean, this is a youth game. This is clearly a youth game. These are not, I don't think these are high school players. It's probably like U12 or U14. But that's not enough for me to have a foul. So to sort of sum up, call the big stuff. And the big stuff is easy to find, right? Safety never takes a holiday. Understand the level of play. Understand the game that you're in. What is the temperature of the game? Is it a blowout? Is it a rivalry? You'll do games, that, and I've done games between teams, how in Georgia they go in and they build a new high school right next to the old high school. So all the kids used to play together and they all play in the same rec league. And now they go over, to South and this team is from North. And, one team might be really good, but when they play, there's a lot of trash talking and there's a lot of hard hits because they all know each other. Those are actually really tough games to officiate. And so you have to be very clear about, hey, this could go sideways if we don't sort of make sure that we manage this. Advantage, disadvantage has to be super clear. If it's 50-50, you got to make a decision, right? What are we doing on 50-50 calls? Are we calling them or are we saying they're no calls? You got to be consistent throughout the game. Do you need to insert yourself in order to stop this, or do you need to keep it moving? Okay. And make sure you call the game as a crew consistently. If there's one guy out there, let's make sure that we are not allowing people to go off on their own, and they're just going to call whatever they're going to call. So think about it this way. You want to match fouls, right? Stay away from marginal and weird stuff. Catalog plays. What have we called and what haven't we called? I will often see that, hey, we've called a bunch of face-off violations. Well, that means if you're 50-50 on a face-off violation, it's probably a violation. If you're 50-50 on a moving pick and you've called a bunch of moving picks, now every potential 50-50 call is going to be a moving pick. Now, how many fouls each team has is important, but it is not essential because, you might have a team that is playing a zone and they're just kind of sitting back and letting the other team pass it around. Whereas the other team is playing man to man and they're trying to take the ball away because they're down by 6 goals. The team that's down by 6 that's really trying to pressure the ball is very likely to have more fouls. Right. So it doesn't mean that they got 6 and we only have 1. Like, that's unfair. Yeah, but you earned those. You want to be reassessing throughout the game with your partner or partners, right? Don't look for fouls or match marginal or bad calls, right? Being consistent as a crew is the key thing, right? So let's look at this guy. Right. So these are pretty good teams, Princeton and Brown, right? And again, we got some contact from behind. They don't call anything. We've got same there. We don't call that contact on the back. We got a hard check to the cross. We've got another hard check to the cross. We got hard check to the gloved hand. Push from the front, right? These games where you are letting people play that have real physical ability and athleticism can be super exciting, but you have to be ready for that level of play, right? Because as soon as it goes sideways, that's when you need to know you need to step in. So you got to see what everybody else is doing. Final thought. What do the rules specifically say? Look at the rule and read the situations. Okay. For example, contact at the head is not always a foul. You can have a brush. What's happening in your game? Level and temperature. What are other officials at your level and higher calling? This is what I'm going to tell you. You have to watch other people officiate. Find officials that you respect and that you really think know what they're doing in your area. Go to those games, watch those games, watch the film on Huddle. Make sure you are seeing what other people are calling, because when you get to that level, you want to have already experienced that a little bit, even if it's only mental reps, right? You can't officiate and not watch what others are doing, right? You can't just go by what your judgment is and how you interpret the rules. We've got to be working together as an association, as a group of officials nationally who are doing NFHS rules. All righty. All right, let me take you over to this presentation and we'll talk about play-ons. And we will talk about, okay. All right, so we've kind of talked about what to do when you identify a penalty, right? We've talked sort of about the adjudication, what might you call, but the first thing you need to do is see the penalty, okay? So, hold on, let me clear all this. All right, so you're going to witness the penalty and you are going to throw your flag and you are going to yell flag down. And you are going to yell it loudly. You're going to use your scary man voice, because we are telling everybody that we are now in a flag down, slow whistle situation. So your partner needs to know that. The coaches need to know that. The players need to know that. And that play may go on for a while. And so you will, if you watch me officiate and I have a flag down, if it goes on for a while, I will yell, "Gentlemen, we have a flag down," to remind myself and to remind other people, hey, we got this thing going on. We got to do it. Say the number that committed the foul, right? Red 45, red 45, red 45. If it goes on for a while, he may sub off, right? You don't necessarily know what red 45 is going to do, but we need to know that number. As soon as the flag down slow whistle ends, we are going to blow the whistle and stop play. We are going to relay the foul to our partner first. So I may go, I got a slash, I got a hold, and I'm kind of doing this, keeping it inside my body, right? Because if I look over and I'm doing hold and my partner's doing slash, we need to come together and have a conversation. 90% of the time, it's very clear. Slash red 45. Hey, 45, you got to go to the box. You're going to report to the table, and you're going to use what we call C note: color, number, offense, time, and explanation. You are always going to do it in that order, right? Red 45 slash 1 minute. Ball will start at midfield. Okay. And then while your partner is relaying that information, or you're relaying that information, your crew should be getting the ball ready for play and making sure everybody knows what they're doing, right? When you do throw a flag, throw it high. We are not doing football here. You don't drop it at the spot of the foul. I want you to launch that bad boy in the air and yell flag down. If you have not officiated, when you throw that flag in the air, you are all going to want to look up and see how high you threw it. If this is happening in front of you, you looking at your flag is not going to do anybody any favors. Keep your eyes on the players. You want to watch for retaliation. You want to watch for secondary fouls. If it's a personal foul, you throw it immediately and always. For a technical foul, you are only going to throw a flag if that team is in possession of the ball when the foul occurs. So here is an example. So big slash to the chest and then a big slash right to the gut. We've got 2 fouls. They come out immediately. That's how high I want you to throw flags. Okay. I want you to launch those bad boys. Actually, I will play this again because I think you will hear me yell flag down. So that's what you want to do when you recognize a foul. This chart is also available for you. It is on your training plan document. So it's a nice little chart of if you have a loose ball foul by B, your option is to have a play on. And if that team gains possession, the play on ends and the game continues, right? If team A doesn't gain possession within a few seconds and maintain their advantage, you blow the whistle and you award possession. Okay. Again, personal foul, it's always going to be an immediate whistle if it's loose and you're going to kill it. I will say the new rule this year is, or actually the new clarification is, if a player passes or shoots and is fouled, we consider that to be in possession. I know it's confusing because a loose ball really should be a loose ball. But this is what the rules committee wanted to do, right? So now, if team A is in possession and you have a technical foul or a personal foul, it's going to be a flag down, slow whistle. And so we'll play until one of those conditions is met that ends it. If team A is in possession and A fouls, it's an immediate whistle if it's a technical. It's an immediate whistle and a flag if it's a personal foul, right? So the play on. Play on was brought over from soccer, right? So soccer realized, hey, somebody tries a hard tackle, it should be a foul. You want to award the ball to the team that was tackled, but he keeps the ball and the fast break continues. If they maintain their advantage, let play continue. Do not stop the game to tell somebody that you're going to give them the ball that they already have. Doesn't make any sense. Okay. Again, this only has to do with technical fouls. If the offending team gains possession, or the offended team loses advantage, kill the play. If they lose so somebody pushes you from behind, I say play on. You pick up the ball and I go, oh, we have possession now. And I put my hand down and I say white ball, allow play to continue. Well, if the guy that pushed you is now right over you and takes the ball away from you, you've never regained your advantage. So it's really important to understand that possession alone does not end a play on. You have to maintain your advantage throughout the play. Okay. And they really should only last a few seconds. Again, these are our examples that we saw in what foul to call. So the play on mechanic is play on. They maintain their advantage. So basically you're saying, hey, I saw the foul, right? Play on. You're going to yell that. If they blue keeps the ball, I just point in the direction of play and say blue ball, and we continue playing. If they don't maintain their advantage or don't gain possession within a few seconds, whistle, and I just say blue ball. You do not need to give a number of somebody who committed a loose ball foul. You do not need to say what the loose ball foul was. You can say loose, hold, blue ball. But everybody knows it was a technical foul because you didn't throw your flag. Keep it simple. Right? Advantage, disadvantage. Push, right? Red ball. Pushes, holds, interference calls, these are the key to maintaining and managing a game, right? If you're playing at a low level of play and it sort of breaks out into a field hockey game, get the ball off the ground and into somebody's stick. Let them know that you are around. That's what you do with pushes and holds and interference calls, right? So here's a good example. You can look in the right corner, right? White gets held, right? And then we quickly restart. So let's watch this play. So look at Black here is going to wrap his cross around the player and bring them to the ground, right? To me, this is not really a trip. I'm not worried about this player's safety. This is a clear disadvantage. He's not going to get the ball. You see the hand go up. They're not going to get it, so we kill it. Hold, point in the direction, wait for him to be, nobody within 5 yards, and we restart play. Easy peasy. Here is a classic example, and actually I was on this game. This is the last game I did before COVID shut the world down. So I was literally working this game at Georgia Tech against South Carolina when we literally walked off the field and got the email that pretty much everything was shutting down. So you're gonna see a hold by Black. There are 8 seconds left in this game, and we're coming up, or not in the game, but in the half. And it's a close game. I think Georgia Tech is winning by a couple of goals, but watch the hold, and we allow play to continue because White maintains possession and the advantage. There's the hold. So this is clearly disadvantaging White, wrapped around the chest, up by the neck. It's just a hold, right? At this level of play, that's a hold. But White gets the ball at X, sees the guys that's open, and he hits a great quick stick right into the top right corner. That's what the play on was meant to allow to happen. If you are in your defensive end, I am less likely to let a play on go for more than a second because I know you're not going to pick the ball up and go score. If you're in your offensive end, that may be a different story. If there is a potential fast break about to happen, that may be a different story. But in this case, this is a great example of a play on that leads to a goal. Again, here's a great example of killing a play on. We've seen this, right? You're going to see Black gets pushed, play on, but we kill it because we know nobody's going anywhere, right? What do we want? We want a clean restart. That's what everybody in the world wants right here. So we're not going to let that go on for more than a second. So how do you deal with the flag down slow whistle? If you have a flag down because the team is in possession when they are fouled, whether it's a technical or a personal foul, it's basically a free play. It is jumping offsides in an NFL game, right? Basically, nothing bad can happen to the offense. So you're going to allow play until a goal, the offense commits a foul, ball goes out of bounds, defense gains possession, an injury that requires stoppage and play, end of period, or somebody loses equipment, right? We've talked about that. If you are within 5 yards of the ball or you are in possession of the ball and you lose equipment, we're going to kill the play. Or the second foul by a defense, right? So the way you remember this is goodies. Okay. So here's a great example. So we're going to see red gets it. There's the push. And we have the flag down. This play is going to go on for a minute. Right? They can substitute. They can do whatever they want. We are 6 on 6. We have a flag down slow whistle, right? And we're going to try to take, Red's going to try to take the best shot that they can take because they know that if it's a personal foul, they're going to get the goal and a man up face off. If it is a technical foul, they just get the free play. If they score on the free play, you wipe off the technical foul. You're never going to wipe off a personal foul. So again, we've gone a good 30 seconds here trying to see what's going on. So the ball can hit the ground, any of this stuff. And now the defense gains possession. We kill the play, and we're going to adjudicate the penalty. And we have a push, right? We've got a push. So it's a 30-second penalty for Red. They're going to be man up for 30 seconds. Here's a great example of C note, right? 30-second push. Now, in high school, second foul by the defense, you kill the play immediately. So you have a slash by the defense, and then you have a loose ball push, kill the play. Okay. Unless there is a scoring play in progress, right? Second fouls that are loose ball fouls are now time serving. So a loose ball push becomes a 30-second penalty. A 30 loose ball hold becomes a 30-second penalty. Okay. And our definition of scoring play in progress is you have to be in your offensive end. Otherwise, you're going to kill the play. You must continuously advance towards the goal. Once you go behind GLE, you are no longer considered to be advancing to the goal. Kill the play. If you're behind GLE at the time of the foul, once you get above GLE, you can't go back. And the team with a second flag down is only allowed one shot. With one flag down, you can take a shot, get the rebound, take another shot, catch the deflection, take a third shot. If you have a second flag down, you get one more bite at the apple. And if the ball hits the ground, unless it's a shot, you're going to kill it. Okay. So this is something that you probably want to review. I will tell you this is not the rule in college. So I screw this rule up all the time. And I tell everybody that I work with, if I'm going to screw something up, it's going to be this. And so until I get a couple of high school games under my belt, it takes me a while to process this because it's a fairly recent rule. And I don't see it that often. So it's kind of tough to see what's happening. So here's an example of an imminent scoring opportunity. And so flags down, we do not go below GLE. We keep going. There we have another foul. So, right. All righty. All right, guys. So we've done that one. Is there anything else? Well, we can get this one in. Any questions? Any questions from anybody? Again, this is stuff that you're going to want to go back and review. I'm going to record these PowerPoints individually tomorrow, so you'll be able to go back and look at them. But this is the adjudication stuff, right? Now, you guys will be assigned to work with experienced guys who sort of know how to do this. But this is something that you want to learn. If you want to progress quickly, understanding how to adjudicate fouls, honing your foul recognition, knowing what imminent progress is and how to end a flag down slow whistle. Those are all important things. And you want to make sure you're in the rule book and you're looking at these presentations and going out and then implementing that in games. What do we got in the chat? Let's see here. Again, lowering your shoulder is not in and of itself a foul. You can lower your head, right? Unless you make contact that is vicious enough with your head, it's not spearing. You can lower your shoulder and have a completely legal body check. Now, if you lower your head and you lower your shoulder and you hammer the kid from behind and you come from distance, that all helps tell the story of why this might be a personal foul and not a technical foul, right? But
Okay.
just doing the one thing doesn't mean that, like, you can run 100 yards across the field and hit somebody legally.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Because guys
Yes.
will be yelling, "Oh, that's a 10-yard charge." And I'm like, we're not, there's no ice here. This is not a hockey game, right? He lowered his shoulder and then he missed him. Um, my favorite is guy is trying to hold somebody and the dude runs right through the hold and scores the goal. He's holding him. No, he was trying to hold him, coach. He was doing a terrible job of it. Um, there's no advantage, right? So
Okay.
these are things
Okay.
that we need to think about, right? And
Okay. Yes.
again, as long as you are consistent and your crew is consistent, it's good stuff. Okay, so we'll finish up with this. This is really short, but we are going to talk about signaling and administering fouls, just so you know what to do during that dead ball situation. So get in. All right, there's old Herbert. Okay, so who needs to know that we have just called a foul? Your partner. Both teams. The coach. The table. Right? And the fans. Everybody needs to know this. This is important information. If you want to become a good official, you need to make sure that you are communicating all of this information to everybody in a clear and concise manner. Okay? Um, so in this case, the lead has a flag. He's going to signal to the trail. The trail is going to go over to where the T is at the 50, and they are going to relay the penalty. It is 90% of the time in a two-man game, it is the trail reporting the foul. Okay? The lead will do what I call setting the field. You need to do three things. Find the ball, let everybody know where the ball is going to be on the restart, and then let everybody know when the penalty time will expire. So when I am reporting a foul, I will say blue 36 / 1 minute. That penalty will release at 5:46. And that way I know as I'm running up and down the field and I look up at the clock, I'm like, oh, I should be counting 6 on defense right now, not 5. Okay. And when the coach says, when does he release? I go, coach, he releases at 5:46. You look like a genius. But setting the field is a really important thing, right? Now, if the trail has a flag, you relay to the lead, right? And you can do this. Hey, I got to hold. And so now the lead can say, hey, goalie, the ball's going to be over here. Let's make sure blue has the ball. Blue 38, do you have the ball? All right, ball's going to restart here. Penalty's out at 1:13. And the trail goes over, reports the penalty using C note. If you have multiple flags, you got to make sure you have the same thing. If you have two different fouls, as we've seen, it becomes a little more confusing and difficult to adjudicate fouls. So quickly signal to each other. If you need to come together, come together. And once you've clarified, you're going to go through the same process, right? So you come together, and then lead goes and sets the field, and the trail goes to report. This is a great example of an official signaling, right? He waits until it is a clear line of sight, great signals, big, crisp, and clear, and he is not moving. I will tell you that one of the things I had to work on early on in my career was I look like a guy doing an Irish jig when I am reporting fouls, at least early on. So I clearly say to myself, Greg, plant your feet. Okay. You do not want to be moving. I always say table so that I get their attention and I point to the team whose foul it's on. So table, blue, 36, slash. That'll be a 1 minute penalty. The penalty will release at 4:32. And then I look at the table, and if they have that deer in headlights look, for example, I've just explained simultaneous fouls, and they're like, what the hell is this guy talking about? It may take me another time or two to explain to them what is going on. So get to the tee, stay still, think before you signal, get their attention. Here's a big one. Be loud, clear, and concise, but you do not need to be angry. Nobody fouled you. Okay. If you sound angry, and sometimes people do sound angry, it will look like you are mad at the other team. And we do not want to give that impression ever. Okay. Use C note, right? And make sure your signals are big, right? You don't want to be in here. I remember I was observing officials on a game and writing up an observation for them. Guy, I saw a foul and I was like, yeah, it's a cross check, I think. They came up and reported, and the announcer literally said, I have no idea what that foul was. He's up in the press box and he couldn't see the signals because they weren't great signals. So it's really important that you use good signals. There you go.
Cross check against Loyola.
Again, set the field. Count your players, right? If you've got 2 men down, a team might say, hey, man down unit, you're on the field. Those guys all run out. Well, if they don't know that they're 6-on-4 instead of 6-on-5, you might not have the right number of players. Don't assume that they're going to have the right number of players. You want to make sure that that it is not it's not up to them to decide whether or not we're going to do this. Okay. There we go. So restarts and time serving penalties. Fouls on an offensive end, right? So if we've got a foul in the offensive attack box, we are going to move it laterally into one of the alleys. You are never going to allow the offense to start in the attack box unless you have a shot out of bounds or a timeout called on a shot out of bounds. Otherwise, you're going to move it outside the box. And if it's out here, you just leave it where it is. The only place you're really worried about is this area right here, because a defensive player has to give 5 yards. So you don't want somebody standing right at the 30. The other guy's got to be at the 25, and maybe it's a long pole. Maybe he's taking a shot, right? That you want to move it to the corners of the box if it's in this red area. Okay. Now, fouls in a team's defensive end result in a free clear. So you started at the midfield, 1 step over into the team's offensive end. Okay, so you go boop right there. Non-releasable penalty time is always served first. So if a player has a slash and then he tells you to go F yourself and you throw a flag for unsportsmanlike conduct, he will serve the unsportsmanlike conduct first. And because that's full time, if a goal is scored during that 1 minute penalty, he is not released. So that penalty has to expire for him to then start serving his releasable penalty time. Penalty time is cumulative. It is not concurrent. Penalty time begins with the whistle resuming play. Okay. And it will carry over into subsequent periods. So if you've got 3 seconds on your penalty and the halftime ends, you're going to be man down for 3 seconds to start the third period. Okay. It'll carry over into overtime as well. Player who commits a penalty needs to go kneel in front of the box and feel sad. Um, he should kneel in front of the scorers table. Goalies serve their own penalties. If you are in a JV or high school game, goalies serve their penalties. If you are in a youth game, it may be that teams don't have a lot of goalies, and so you may allow an in-home to serve in a youth game. But in a JV or high school game, you do the crime, you serve the time. Um, Players can come out of the penalty box when their penalty is about to be released and you want to get a different substitute in, right? They don't have to come back in the game. A substitute can come back in the game for them. The in-home, this is who you're going to put in if you do not know who committed the foul, okay? Or if it is a foul on a non-player, okay? So it's on a coach, it's on a trainer, somebody like that. The in-home has to be a starting attackman listed first in the book. This is where it gets kind of weird. You are only allowed to have 3 players from each team in the penalty box at any one time. So if you have 4 players that have a penalty, you are doing what is called stacking the box. These 3 knuckleheads will go in and serve their penalties. Until one of them is released, the 4th guy can't come in to serve his penalty. And until you are in the penalty box serving your penalty, you cannot be released on a goal or the time expiring. So if, let's say, these guys all have 1-minute slashes, a goal is scored, their penalties wipe out. Now you bring in the other guy. So instead of being 3 men down, they are now 1 man down. Okay. Here's an example of sort of what teams are trying to do on extra man offense. So again, 2 very high level teams. You know, it's a hell of a lot easier to score if you've got an extra guy, right? So defense is trying to rotate as quickly as possible, and the backside guy is playing 2. And in this case, the offense is trying to make the defense overcommit and rotate and find a guy who has room and time to shoot. So this is actually a great man down defense right here. And then, yep, they get a pretty decent shot, but not a great one, right? So, goal scored by the man-up team, all releasable penalty time is going to be wiped out. Non-releasable time has to be served until completion. Play will resume with a face-off, so it may be a man-down face-off. If the man-down team scores, nothing changes, right? So if the defense, who's playing 5-on-6, gets the ball and runs down the field and scores, their guys are, it has to be a goal by the offended team to release any releasable penalties.
And Greg, while you're stacking the box, if
Yeah.
you have 3 penalties at the same time, one team, and then it goes R4, whatever situation, there's a face off after the 3 penalties, and there's time serving. Face off guy
Yeah,
is
no,
offside.
I have had this happen to me on multiple occasions.
Yeah, the face off guy can go offside at that point.
So
right?
you have to bring a defensive player up. You cannot bring an attackman up. So you
Right.
have to bring a defender up. And so you will have 2 guys on defense, and one of those, that 3rd guy will be taking the face-off. As long as he is engaged with the other player taking the face-off, he's onside.
Okay.
As soon as that ball squirts away, onsides rules apply.
Got it.
Okay. So here we go. So there's the flag, probably for a hold. Right? So we have a goal. and then we're going to adjudicate the penalty. So if this is a technical foul, we are going to go, let's see, what did we really have here? Oh, cross check to the head right here. Slides up. So this is indirect contact to the head. You could go direct depending on the severity, but we are going to have a goal and then a man down face off as a result of this. Now, if you do have a technical foul, you have a hold and then the player runs through it and scores. You're going to come to the table and you're going to say the goal is good. You're going to take your flag and you say the flag is wiped out by the goal. We are going to face off. The goal is good. What we don't want is for you to say the goal is good, wipe out the flag, and have the table personnel or the scorekeeper say, oh, they said wipe out the goal. We want to make very clear that the goal is good at the beginning and the end of this discussion so that everybody knows what's going on. When it gets weird, slow down and make sure everybody understands what's happening. Dead ball fouls. The dead ball begins with the action requiring a whistle. You do not actually have to have a whistle. So if a player steps out of bounds and you can't find your whistle, and believe me, it has happened, it's broken, it fell off, whatever, because the player stepped out of bounds, the play's dead. So dead ball fouls are enforced in the sequence in which they occur. So if A commits a dead ball foul, we know that B is getting the ball. Let's say it's just conduct or a loose ball, something, right? So we're going to give the ball to B. If B, however, commits a foul, now we're going to give the ball to A. Both A and B might serve time, but we tick-tock back and forth as to who gets the ball, okay? This is a chart that is available to you. It is, again, on the training plan. So it is sort of offense in possession, dead ball, defense in possession. What do we do? Okay. Do we have a loose ball? What's going on? This is what we call a foul tree. So it gives you the order in which you are going to do things and when you should be reporting and who gets possession and all of those things. Same thing for technical fouls. Simultaneous fouls, we sort of briefly talked about. Players of opposing team, dead ball when sequence cannot be determined. If you measure 2 lacrosse sticks and both are illegal, who's to say you measured one first and then the other one? You don't know what the order is, right? The assumption is both of them happened at the same time. Now, live ball, you can have simultaneous fouls even when sequence can be determined. Simultaneous in this case means they will begin their penalty simultaneously. Therefore, because it begins on the same tick of the clock, you lock in any shared penalty time. So you might have a loose ball push play on, a bunch of seconds go by, and then you have a retaliatory slash. Those are live ball simultaneous fouls. Okay. Now, if both fouls are technicals, penalties offset. Whoever has the ball keeps it. Otherwise, you go AP. When you have a technical and then a personal or both personals, shared time is going to be non-releasable. So think of it this way. Oh, and how you award. Whoever has less penalty time keeps the ball. If it's equal, whoever was in possession or entitled to possession. So think if the first one was a play on, that team is entitled to possession. Otherwise, you go AP unless there's a face-off, in which case you go with the face-off. Shared time is non-releasable. And again, this includes loose ball technical fouls. So where do you restart? If a face-off is pending, you conduct the face-off. If no face-off pending, you restart the ball where the foul occurred. So this means with simultaneous fouls, you may start without a free clear. So you may start man up in your defensive end because now you're 5-on-5. The mnemonic to remember is live ball, leave it, dead ball, dead center. And that's because most dead ball fouls occur in between periods at a stick check, okay? Um, or players getting into a fight right in front of the bench, okay? But the key is wherever the foul occurred is where you're going to have the ball restart. So here's our example. We blow the whistle in at 8:12. At 8:07, we have a loose ball push on B9. And then 7 seconds later, A1 slashes. This is simultaneous because it's in the time period of a whistle that starts live ball play and a whistle that ends live ball play. It does not mean that the fouls happen at the same time during live ball play. What it means is we are going to put two people in the box and their penalties will begin simultaneously. So any shared penalty time is locked in. So B9 is going to serve 30 seconds full time, and A1 is going to serve a minute, the first 30 seconds of which are going to be locked in. And then DQ and ejection. If you give anybody an ejection foul, for example, a second unsportsmanlike conduct foul, if it is a player, it is going to be a 3-minute foul. Whatever you were going to call, you were going to give him a 1-minute unsportsmanlike conduct as the second unsportsmanlike because he dropped an F-bomb. Because it's now a second unsportsmanlike and an automatic ejection, it automatically becomes a 3-minute non-releasable penalty. If you eject a coach, it's only going to be a 1 minute. Now, for a GHSA, if you get ejected, you miss the next 2 games. If you are disqualified, that means you have 5 or more minutes of personal fouls. You're DQ'd for the remainder of the game, and you sit out the next scheduled GHSA contest, which means you really need to file a report and call the assigner so that we can let the schools know. I will usually go to the coach and say, Coach, Billy, number 35 here, has been disqualified. Just so you know, I will be filing a report. He cannot play in the next GHSA contest. And most coaches are great with that. They would prefer that you tell them. Some of them don't know about this, level of rule scrutiny. So, all right. Let me kill this. Again, I ran a few minutes over. I apologize, but I want to get you all this information. Please watch the video on pregame responsibility. This is going to talk about contacting your crew before a game, when to show up, making sure you're wearing the right uniform, all of those kind of things. So if you have not registered with Dragonfly, please take care of that tomorrow. And let me know if you have any questions.
Thanks, Craig.
All right, guys. Thank you very
Craig,
much.
for a
Appreciate
second?
you. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. So where on Dragonfly will the exam show up?
So you have to register and then get approved.
Yep. So
And then I have an entire post. You can go on GA Laxref right now. It was in the last newsletter that will show you the instructions for where to take the test.
okay.
Yeah, and that will not be available until the 27th. So we're going to talk about that on our next call.
Perfect.
I think you sent links to take quizzes.
Yeah, I sent a link. So there are quizzes that have been posted. And they're broken into, I think Rule 4 has like 2 quizzes. There's one on Rule 5 and 6. There's one on Rule 7, 1, 2, and 3. So those are just like Google forms. If you get it wrong, it gives you a rule reference. So you can always go look it up. If you have questions and you think that's weird, I don't understand why this is the rule. It may be because I typed it in wrong, but let me know. Otherwise, I can explain it to you and I can show you the reference and explain the philosophy. So yeah, but it's a good way to study. And again, the Rule 7 one's going to be weird. That's hard stuff, but the other ones are pretty clear cut. These are not gotcha questions. Most of them are clearly from situations that are in the book. That being said, let me show you really quickly. I've added this to the documents, and I put it on the resource page on GA LaxRef. But this is a document that I created the other day. And then let me share my screen. So what you were looking at is basically I have laid out all of the rules for cross-checking, for slashing, for tripping, for illegal body checks. And I have put in the exceptions to those rules. So a cross-check hold with hands no wider than the shoulder is legal. You can't trip over the leg of a stationary defender. If a player turns at the last minute, you can say that that is a no call. Um, uh, Not seeing a player set a screen, an unavoidable check, for example, a bang bang play. These are all things that you can use to sort of figure out what your options are on slashes. And so I'm going to do one of these for technical fouls as well.
Awesome.
But that is available to you. So print that out, stick it in your notebook, download it to your phone, and you can just use that to help you study and see what's going on. All right, y'all.
All right. Thank you,
Thanks,
sir.
Greg.
Thank you very much. You guys have a good night. Stay safe, stay warm.
Good night.